Hello, my name is Josh Foster. They call me the equine's partner. The reason for that is working with animals is a dance, and in every dance there's partners. Well, when there's dance partners, there's always a leader, and I try to help people understand their animals and teach them how to be a leader. I work with mules, horses, donkeys, dogs, zebras. I've worked with cats, I've worked with snakes, I've worked with mountain lions, I've worked with bobcats, I've worked with lynx. I've done a little bit with bears. I've done a bunch of different animals, coyotes, wolves. They're all different species, but they all look for leadership, and they all look for approval is what they all like to see in the end. So my main goal in life is to help people understand their animals and not to get frustrated and not to be scared. I like to build confidence in people. I like to show people what they can do with their animal. I don't like it when people go, okay, I can do it, how come you can't? There's a lot of reasons why. If I walk in with leadership energy and that animal says, okay, you're a leader, I'll listen to you. But the next guy walks in with nervous energy, that animal's going to perceive them entirely different. So I like showing people how they can be a leader, and that proves the confidence in them, and that puts it into the animal that they're working with, so they can be safe and enjoy whichever animal they have. I work a lot with a lot of problemed animals. I don't call them problem animals, they're problemed. There's a very big difference. Now, I may not be a pimple on his hind side, but my hero was Tom Dorrance. And that man, he was something very, very special to me. And he really opened my mind. He didn't show me so much, he really wouldn't work with me, but he opened my mind more than anybody ever has in my entire life. And every time I work an animal, I always assume Tom's watching. So I was trying to be good. However, the thing is we don't have to be mean, we don't have to be forceful. We don't have to get mad, like right there, she took a little nip at me just because she's bored, and I didn't get mean, I just corrected it. So I don't have to hold it against her, and she's not going to hold it against me for correcting her. Everything can be done calmly, it doesn't have to be rude. I make the right thing easy, the wrong thing difficult. I do that by using different forms of pressure and release. And if we take the time it takes, it always takes a lot less time. And patience and persistence always prevails. Those are the 4 things I live by in life, not just with animals. When you walk through life with leadership energy, everybody tends to want to hang around with you. If you ever notice, there's, even in a relationship, it might be an abusive relationship, but they always go back. The weak one always goes back. The weak one always goes back. This doesn't have to be abusive, but the one with strong energy, that's the one everybody wants to follow, especially animals, because animals follow the confident leader. Not cocky, confident. So if the horses or the mules are out and a lion comes and he's going to eat one of them, there's always going to be one leader there that they listen to, always. Not going to be the one quivering in the corner. So what I always tell everybody is, my little girl would rather follow me through a gang riot than grandma with a plate of cookies. She knows with me she's going to be safe. Grandma on a plate of cookies is bribing and nurturing. They're looking for leadership. They're not looking for emotions, okay? Every animal has emotions, but they're not emotionally driven. So when we try to overcome our fears by overloving them, we're actually making it worse. So these are the things that I like to point out to people. And I like people to be a part of what is going on. I don't take in animals for training. I used to. I do not anymore, because I need that person to understand how they are communicating with that animal. When we communicate with an animal, this is the 2 ways that animals communicate, through body language and energy. That's the 2 ways every animal communicates. 98% of the time, if they're using verbal, it's some form of excitement or anxiety. 98% of the time, because there are times when mothers, they talk to their young in soothing voices. Now, when we learn to communicate with an animal on the animal's level, meaning we communicate with a horse like a horse, a mule like a mule, a donkey like a donkey, a cow like a cow, a dog like a dog, a bear like a bear. That's what they are. We try to humanize things, and things are not going to come down to our level. They are who they are. It's up to us to learn how to communicate with them as the species that they are. Whenever I work with an animal, I always look at what species is this? How was it lived naturally? And then I try to communicate with them on that level, the same way another animal would. So, just like this mule here, she keeps trying to edge forward. I'm not going to get mad, I'm just going to keep correcting. So I correct her, moved her feet back, and left her alone. It's just that simple. We just got to be patient and persistent. So my main goal in life is to just help people understand their animals, and that's going to make it a little bit better for them, for the animal. There are people that get into the romance of loving their animal, and that's not a reality. That's not it's not the buy the wild Mustang, jump on him and run through the woods with his mane blowing in the breeze. It's not that way. We got to be realistic, and these are some of the things that I point out to people. Some people don't like it when I'm realistic, but it's going to save them. That's just the way it is. So anyway, my name is Josh Foster, and I love critters, and I'd love to help people understand their critters. So I'd love to meet you. Have a good day. All right, Tom Dorrance was a family friend. He was my hero, and he helped my mother out a lot. And I always wanted to work with Tom Dorrance. I thought I could ride anything with hair, and I wanted to learn his magic. And I figured I'd be the best thing in the world if I did. Well, I was working for a rodeo company about the time I was 18, and I kept calling Tom and saying, "Hey Tom, can we get together and work some horses?" And he'd say, "Sure." So we'd set up a date, and he'd say, "Just call me before you come." And now Tom was an elderly man at that time, and he's the only man I've ever met that has no ego. Never did. And so I'd wait till that day comes, and I'd load up a bunch of horses that had never been touched. And I'd call Tom and say, "Okay, I'm on my way." And he'd say, "Never mind, I don't want to work with you today." And he'd hang up the phone. And I would get mad. Oh, I'd get mad. And I'd call back and he wouldn't answer. So finally one day, this went on and on. One day I called him and said, "Okay, I'm on my way." I had 9 Mustangs in the trailer. I was ready to go down. And they'd never been touched. And I was going to stay there for a week. And I took time off of work and everything. And I picked up the phone and said, "Okay, Tom, I'm on my way." And he says, "I don't want to work with you today." And I go, "Don't you hang up on me." And I kind of let him have it, and wanted to know why he wouldn't work with me. And he said, "That's why." And he hung up the phone. So I chewed on that for a while, about 3 or 4 months. And then I called him back and I said, "Tom, I understand what you were trying to say to me. You were trying to tell me I'm a hothead. And you're right, I am." I said, "But I've been working on that." And I said, "I've calmed down a bunch, and I understand what you were saying. I've slowed down." I said, now will you work with me?" And he said, "Now I don't have to." He says, "You have all the answers if you just ask the animals." He said, "But I will tell you this, when you think you're going slow enough, go slower." And that was the words he said to me. He says, "You'll be fine." And so that was my Tom Dorrance story, and that's why Tom would never work with me. Tom always give you a riddle. He'd never give you an answer. And so my only problem was me. That was it. I wasn't afraid of anything. I'd ride anything. And he knew it. And he knew I was cocky. And so he just had to slow me down. So that's when my mind really opened to the things that I'm doing now. And I learned it wasn't all about Josh. It was about the animals and the people I could help. And that's why I went the direction that I did. So that's how Tom Dorrance helped out Josh Foster. And that's the story of us.